to start out, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to do this little
Absolutely, yeah.
for Nintendo. Really appreciate it. I wanted to go ahead and start talk about how you all came up with the idea for this Indies Crash to get all these small businesses people who can't afford it.
Right.
To come in here and do this.
I mean, we kind of got the idea by having that same issue ourselves. We were thinking about E3. The thing is, as an indie, E3 doesn't occur to you because you're like, oh, that's for the big guys, right? And so, but we kind of thought about, like, well, is it? We hadn't really looked into it. How expensive is it? How hard is it? And it was far harder and far more expensive, far more difficult than we thought, but we were able to do it. And so, through that process of realizing all these regulations, all the costs, not just from E3, but from anyone who knows about E3 wants to overcharge you, or they want to tell you how it's going to be, right? And if you can look around, our booth is a lot different. It was hard to find someone who's willing to work with us. If you talk to anyone, they want to build their booth their way, their costs, everything's very, very strict, and that's how people look at E3. We want to kind of turn that on its head. And so we said, our booth gave us 60 passes. We said, hey, let's give a lot of them. We actually gave, I think, 40 of them out to the indies, to other indies who may not have a chance to come. And that's really how it is. You don't have a chance as an indie to attend, let alone present. And a lot of that's just because the regulations are set up in kind of rigid ways. And not to talk against ESA, because they've been a great help to us this year, but some of the regulations need to change to be more indie-friendly. That's what we're trying to work to do.
Okay, so you have another campaign on the side besides increased indie representation. You kind of want to help these new indies, make it easier to get into this event, to make it much more accessible for them.
Absolutely. Indies Crash E3 is more than just the contest we put on to get them in. It's a bigger campaign where we're going to try to work with the ESA to see what all we can change. I understand that there's definitely going to be some areas where they can't really give us a lot of wiggle room because there's reasons behind it. They aren't just doing this to be mean, they have reasons. And so we're going to find what areas were just there because they're there. What areas can they say, okay, we can do that for the indies, or whatever it is. There's a lot of different areas we can try to push at to see where we can get more leeway. If we do this again next year, we're only going to do it if we get the support of the ESA because we want to make it bigger. And if we want to make it bigger, we want to have more room to make it easier for them to kind of do more, if that makes sense.
Yep, that actually makes sense. That was actually a couple of my questions I was wondering. If you guys were going to come back next year with this, and if you were going to make it bigger.
I definitely think so. I mean, I think this has been great so far, and I think if we can get a lot of support, which so far all signs point to us getting that support, then we're going to do it. I mean, what do you think? Creating more of awareness for all of us. So we got to keep working together. Like our games affect their games affect our games. So indies bring a lot of new ideas, and big games they bring all that polish. And so when you keep in mind, you got to make some amazing things. Sure.
And how small are these indie groups that you brought along with you? Are these like one man in his garage coding till midnight, or is it like you have a group of 10, 15 people here?
Some of them, it varies. Most of them are between 1 and about 3 or 4 people. They're very small. Some of them, I think the number 1 winner, Cybot, I think he's one guy, if I'm not mistaken. So we have some guys that are just, they made it themselves.
That might be you over there.
Actually, yeah, it is. And then we have some guys who are a group of kind of larger, I think Project Newman, it was from the university, and so they had a rather large group. All of them are definitely very indie. None of them have publishers or huge budgets to work with, but the group sizes vary.
Let me see what else I have for you. Did you seek out any of these studios? Did any of them come to you?
So we started the campaign, and controversially, we gave out passes to the nominators, and that's because we came at this from the perspective of how are we going to get people interested in indies and get them to nominate? Well, we got to entice them. I think we're trying to do a little bit too much, trying to get them interested in indies and then work to get the indies bigger. So we tailored the focus after that to directly to hey, come get your game to E3. And when we started reaching out to them, it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that kind of snowballed. So we reached out to a lot of them. Some of them reached out to us, but kind of after that, it just kind of grew from there with us kind of contacting them and them telling us about more indies, and we contact those indies, or they would tell more indies to contact us, and it kind of word of mouth really spread.
I got you. And you said snowboarding. How much recognition have you gotten for this event? Like, have other major journalists come to you?
Absolutely. This has been the biggest thing in terms of coverage, biggest thing we've done, bigger than our game even. We've gotten coverage, good and bad, from people like the Wall Street Journal was the most recent one, All Things Digital, did an article, the Penny Arcade Report. We've gotten articles, we've been in touch with a number of IGN, GameSpot, PC Gamer. PC Gamer actually did an article on us. And I believe Game Informer either did or we're in talks with them right now to do one. So we've had some pretty big contacts. And just in terms of traffic, the site has had almost 1 million hits. It had almost 1 million hits in just the 3 weeks or whatever the contest was running.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
So I think you all consider this year to be a victory for...
I would say as a first year, not bad. It's not bad.
Not bad? And you obviously all in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Talking to people, it looks like the foot traffic's increasing right now. Has it always been, this frequent? And we just see this flood of people come in?
Yeah. So when the doors open, surprisingly, if you look out there before the doors open, there's this giant crowd waiting to get in. So you think, oh, it's going to be crowded off the bat. But actually, in the morning, it's not bad. It's around this time that it starts getting really crowded, and it really doesn't die down for the rest of the day. You'll see these lines here to play our game and to play other stuff at our booth, and they will not die down for the rest of the day. Yesterday, the moment those lines form, they don't die, ever. They just keep going bigger and bigger and bigger.
All right.
Yeah.
Are the indie developers around here campaigning while they're here at this booth?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen someone walking around. We've been setting them up with some interviews, so this is kind of the hub. They walk in and out. We have some scheduled interviews, some kind of looser interviews, and they come try to check in, and we kind of hook them up with the journalists. Even some who weren't scheduled, we were talking with Gamer Ranks, I think, earlier, and then we hooked them up with Agent Combat or one of the other indies who happened to be in the booth. So we've let them know to just kind of stay around the area, come and then go, and just kind of try to meet up here when they can. And whenever we see them, we'll pull one of them aside and get them an interview. So.
All right. And you all mentioned that you're a studio yourselves, right?
Yeah.
Do you find yourselves harder to produce games while working on this indie scratching thing?
It's very, very difficult. I mean, we're doing this as an altruistic movement. We don't get anything out of this. All we do is get the indies, these guys, more coverage, which is a win for the industry as a whole. So if you see it that way, it's good for us because the more indies get a spotlight, the more we'll get a spotlight.
Right.
But in general, this is just something that we're spending a lot on without getting much back. So it's kind of rough, putting all this time into it. But we've been able to just put in a lot of hard hours and keep working on our game at the same time. So we haven't seen a big slowdown. It's just been very difficult, really very challenging.
So you're really crunching in there.
Yeah, and the last 2 weeks or so have just been killer, absolutely killer. But I think we pulled through.
That's definitely good to hear. And your game's still on track, right?
Yeah.
It looks interesting.
Yeah, it's we have I'd say about a month left before we release it to the public. And what you see here is kind of an experimental build. You'll see some bugs and quirks that we're going to work out over the next couple weeks, but overall it's a pretty good state closed beta right now.
All right. I think that's everything I got.
Great.
It was definitely nice talking to you. I love what you're all doing there.
Absolutely.
Spotlight.